I just got another call about CP. He got his dick stuck in a hot tub.
All right, see you later.
All right.
All right, go get him.
CP rhymes with TP. Am I fucking right? Am
I don't
right?
get it, but I love it.
Oh.
What's up? This is Michael Rapport, or as that motherfucker CP calls me, What's His Cock from True Romance, and you're watching WILIscredia. CP, you motherfucker. You know who the fuck I am from True Romance, you motherfucker. And what the fuck is a WILIscredia? Who the fuck knows what a WILIscredia is anyway?
Hello all, welcome to this Rise of Skywalker hype stream. Luke from Razorwire Reviews is joining me. I think this is the first time you've joined me like this close to a Star Wars release.
Probably,
right?
Yeah.
In some sort of this type of fashion, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
All right, so Luke, say hi and tell everybody why you should be here above everybody else.
Hi, and also hello to my cat crying in the background, who of course had to start crying the moment we started this stream, not in the previous 20 minutes that we were setting this thing up and chatting before the stream went live. So yeah, I mean, we're a week away. I'm a week away. I don't know when do you see it? What's
Thursday,
the date?
so you're about a day and a half,
Okay.
I think, ahead of the rest of us.
Yeah, it'd be like midnight Wednesday, UK time. So.
Oh wow! So that's 6 p.m. Tuesday for us, or 7 p.m. Tuesday. That's 2 whole days. That's.
We should do another stream where I come on and spoil the whole movie for everyone.
Yeah.
Razor Kenobi. What?
So why don't we? Like I said, so I did some a handful of streams hyping up Force Awakens, where a bunch of people, a bunch of YouTube friends came on, and we kind of speculated and gave our thoughts and what we wanted, but I didn't know you back then. So why don't we hear your story, Luke? What did you expect from 7? What's your journey so far through the Disney Star Wars saga?
Well, I was really excited for 7, and really ended up loving it, and was really excited for 8, and I loved that one too.
Captivating.
No, so like for me as a kid, Episode 7 was like this mythic, like impossible movie that was never going to happen. And I didn't think any Star Wars film would happen again. Then the prequels happened, and it was like, oh my god! And then the prequels became the prequels. But again, Revenge of the Sith, George was like, that's it, done, finished. Yeah. Very surprising when Disney kind of bought the company, and then they announced Episode 7. Couldn't believe it. Did a series of videos leading up to it because I was so excited. And I don't think that will ever be replicated, that Episode 7 kind of build up.
I agree.
It's like the first time we're going to see a Star Wars sequel from the original trilogy, 30 years it was incredible. I think the hype was almost bigger than the actual movie itself. You know, I love the film, but now that I think about Episode 7, it's more the build-up to it that I kind of cherish more than the actual film itself, if that makes any
Sure.
kind of sense.
Well, I mean, they had a what? They had like a teaser trailer like a year and a month in advance. Like I remember it was like Thanksgiving the year before. It was just like, wow, really?
Yeah.
The footage already? This is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it was just crazy, that whole period. You know, I think really having the original trio in the film, you know, not going into the running time of each
Right.
character, but you know, we were having Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill back again. That was huge. With The Last Jedi, obviously a bit different. Harrison Ford not involved, but yeah. So I loved The Force Awakens. You know, thought it was great, and then we had the whole backlash to that. Remember some of the streams you did defending The Force
Sure.
Awakens, or short videos actually, I think.
Yeah.
And
That was fun.
so then it's like, where are they going to take it from Episode 7, which was criticized so heavily for being a rehash and kind of recycling things. And so The Last Jedi came along and flipped things on its head. People weren't too happy about that either. And with Episode 8, I was really excited because Luke's my favorite character. And it was essentially going to be a movie about him, or he was going to be a very central part of it. And they were holding that off for the whole of Episode 7. So I was like, this is going to be great. But the excitement wasn't there. It really wasn't as big as The Force Awakens.
Right.
Until maybe like a week before, then I started to get, you know, amped up and stuff. Then it happened, and as most of you should know, if you know me in any way, shape, or form, the past 2 years, it's become one of my favorite films of all time. So yeah, it delivered huge to me in a way that I wasn't expecting at all. So almost to the point where Episode 9 doesn't matter too much. You know,
Really?
it's like I got I got the Star Wars movie that I'd always dreamed of, but didn't quite know that's what I wanted. You know, it just delivered so much. So yeah, so my journey through the Disney films has been very fruitful as a fan.
Okay.
I think.
So I have I guess a two-part question, but I'll start with the first half. I mean, you came out and said you're a Luke fan, and for as much as people had problems with 7, people said it was too samey, and then when 8 came out, it was too different, and you know that's not my Luke. If there was a major gripe that was to be had amongst the vocal minority, it was that Luke would never do stuff like that. That wasn't Luke. So to hear you say that you're both a fan of Luke and a fan of Episode 8, explain to me how you're okay with 8 while being a fan of Luke.
Well, what I was saying was that before The Last Jedi, I was like a fan of Luke, and I was like, this is going to be really cool because he's going to be a big part of it. But still, to your point, I was a big fan of what they did with him in the film. I mean, it almost is, I don't know, it feels like retreading because I feel like I've defended it so much and talked about it so much. But for the purpose of this, you know, we're like a week away from the last ever Skywalker movie. It's a pretty big deal. I guess I'll try and be as short as possible, I suppose. But for me, I think people's perception of the sequel trilogy was that we're going to get the original trio back again. They're going to be the heroes, and it's going to be like all those books we read in the 90s.
Which I'm unfamiliar with.
Those movies could have happened in the mid-80s. They didn't. They're in their 60s, Harrison Ford, 70s. They were never going to be the heroes, and these trilogies have been generational. Even going back to like an interview with Mark Hamill in the early 80s, he was on some talk show and he said that, yeah, George said to me that, you know, maybe in like 2011 I'll have you back to kind of be the Obi-Wan character handing down Excalibur to the next generation. And so it was kind of already kind of in motion at that point where George was like, you know, if we do another trilogy, it'll be the similar kind of passing down, which is exactly what the sequel trilogy has done. So for better or worse, whether you like the new characters or not, that was always going to be where it was going to go. So Luke couldn't be the hero, at least not in the traditional sense, because what do the new characters do? If you have Luke Skywalker, this epic Jedi, and he just comes in and saves the day, then, well, what does Rey do? You know? There's no story for the main characters, so it made perfect sense to put him in that isolation. And I understand why people had trouble with that. But for me, what makes it work is that he's always been kind of like that. He's always been a bit petulant, a little bit whiny. You know, he's kind of given up at certain points. Maybe not to the point that he does in the sequel trilogy, but he's shown a history of being temperamental. And I always go to the moment in Return of the Jedi when Vader is stoking his kind of, you know, his emotional side and kind of threatens Leia. That's all it needs, and Luke just snaps into a rage, hacks down his dad, nearly kills him, but then stops and realizes, shit, what am I doing? You know, I can't do this. And that's what makes him Luke. That was what makes him such a great kind of heroic character, that he doesn't go all the way. But it makes sense to me that he would slip back into that again in a different circumstance, which we see in The Last Jedi when he, you know, and that's another thing, people are like, oh, he was going to kill his nephew. He wasn't going to kill him. The thought fleeted through his mind in a moment of madness, which they make so explicitly clear in the dialogue, which...
If I can wedge in between you here for a second.
Yeah.
You quite masterfully so, if I do say so, on your Twitter, you've been doing your own GIFs, however you want to pronounce them, GIF, where you...
Oh, the one that went viral.
Yeah. So Luke made this animated GIF where it matches Luke's face from Return of the Jedi to Luke's face in The Last Jedi, where he's about to strike down both Darth Vader and Ben. And it's the same shot. Like, it's the same reaction shot of Luke's face. So, first of all, well done. Secondly, it rhymes. So I didn't mean to...
Hopefully it'll work.
We may have gone too far in a few places.
Well, the cool thing about that is that, you know, I actually, that transition was in a video I made about a year ago for Joe Blow, their channel. But I just took that and made it into a GIF, posted it on Twitter, and it kind of blew up a little bit. Inevitably, someone stole it and kind of posted it on Reddit, and it got like hundreds of thousands of views. And I was just like, okay, you know, it is what it is. And through it being shared around, that's how Ryan Johnson saw it. And he commented on it saying that was intentional. He, even to the point where, you know, the shot of him holding his lightsaber, you know, where he's holding it above Ben. Yeah. So like down to that detail, he was very specifically echoing that moment. So that was nice to kind of hear that I was kind of on the money with my kind of catching the two, you know.
Sure. Like for people, what troubles me about 8 is, I mean, the complaints about the prequels, I feel are warranted. They're poorly made movies. They're lazy. If I could be so cruel, thank you, George Lucas, for everything you've done for us. But you know, you kind of sat on a set and in front of a bunch of TV screens, told people to walk. That, you know, to compare The Last Jedi and how it was made, just on a technical level, to stuff like the prequels, just isn't fair to The Last Jedi as a film. You may not like where the story went, that's fine, but technically speaking, that film is really well made. Like it could be the prettiest Star Wars that there is.
Yeah, I would agree with that, I think.
Right, the cinematography's... I mean, he apes that, you'll know the film because I don't, that although he cheats and puts the camera on like a T-bar where it's a dolly shot where they're going through the tables in Canto Bight. That is a famous shot. You know the film probably, or am I?
Yes, 1927 film, Wings.
Yep, see,
yes.
There you go. I know the shot, I don't know the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's stuff that he went above and beyond to do with that movie, and yes, he subverted expectations, but I don't think he did so much. I feel like there's a tremendous parallel with Luke and Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan in A New Hope essentially does the same kind of thing. He stalls and buys time for everybody else to get away and takes advantage of his opponent's rage. And it feel like, at least to me, it felt very, very similar to A New Hope, and nobody was pissed about Ben in A New Hope. Are you there? Hello? Oh. Hello? Wow, that was interesting.
Hello.
Was that you or me? Are you there? I'm wondering if you could hear us on the stream. If you'd like to go ahead and subscribe to Show Business, the podcast, we'll have an audio version of this. And this part will be cut out. I think Luke lost his signal, unless I did. If you can see this at home, please let me know you can. Oh, I hear you through Zencaster. I do not see you through Skype.
I'll just hang up on Skype and then call back in. Maybe.
Are you restarting it? Is that what's happening?
I can try that, yeah.
All right, so Luke is restarting. I don't know if I'm still live. I don't know. Nobody's saying anything in the chat. That's interesting. All right. Can only hear CP. All right, yeah, we're working on it. Thank you for... I can see this.
Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, everything okay?
Yeah.
How are you?
I was using a VPN, and the VPN kind of went off.
Oh.
So that was the issue there. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, it's fine.
Hopefully we're back now, and we can kind of just swiftly resume.
So it was you. It wasn't. All right, so now everybody's showing up. See both of you. Okay. Good. Okay. So the parallels. At least I think they're there. I think there's an argument to be had at the very least that Luke and Obi-Wan, Luke in The Last Jedi and Obi-Wan in A New Hope. Star Wars. Just Star Wars. Do very similar things, right down to the rhyminess that George Lucas praises.
Even down to what Yoda and Obi-Wan do in Episode 3. Instead of continuing to fight, they go into hiding.
Right.
People say, why would Luke run away and turn away from it? It's because they believe that that's probably the best thing to do.
Yeah. So, I want to ask you this because I remember to ask before, and just in case we get split up again. If Episode 9 is an absolute disaster, if you were to rank the trilogies, where would you rank them? Let's just assume Episode 9 is the worst thing there is. Where do you rank the trilogies?
Then it would be the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, and the prequels.
Okay.
Again, like I said, I almost don't need 9 because I loved Episode 8
That's
so
why
much.
I asked you
but
that. Yeah.
If it is completely terrible, then it's gonna tarnish it somewhat. Sure. But yeah, I am concerned by that because I have so much investment in 7 and 8 so far. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of a real pressure, at least in my own head, for it to kind of stick the landing because it's something that I love a lot. But I don't know. But if it sticks the landing, then pretty great.
Yeah. So I guess I'll ask you really quick one last thing about Last Jedi, and then I guess we can kind of segue over to the new shit. So why do you think, if you were to pinpoint a reason that isn't silly and stupid and sexist and clickbaity, why do you think Star Wars fans have just, for the most part, just not taken a hold of The Last Jedi?
It goes back to what I said before. I think they wanted Luke being the hero. They wanted to see the people that they loved before in that nostalgia play, which is kind of what they were criticizing The Force Awakens to be to begin with, that it was leaning too heavily into Star Wars. But I don't know. I think people just have a hard time processing it, and it's a difficult one. I mean, like you said, to take away all the stupid complaints, which really are bullshit. Right. It is difficult to pinpoint something because it is seems like a fairly widespread opinion that a lot of people really don't. Do you know what I think? I think that people have made many videos and they sound very smart in these videos, and they list all these reasons why The Last Jedi is awful. And for the people who feel a little bit on the fence, like, oh, it wasn't the Luke I wanted to see or whatever, and then they kind of go, oh yeah, he's right, it is awful. Here's all the reasons. I feel justified now. Because there's so many of those videos out there where there's just like 20, 30, 40-minute dissections. And you can watch some of them and it's just they don't hold much water, but then you see thousands of comments saying exactly this is it. You know?
Right.
I honestly feel like it's a mob mentality, and people aren't really thinking about it properly. And you know, if you're out there and you hate the film, you know,
No.
don't take that to
Yeah,
heart.
no.
But it just kind of is
No,
what it is.
absolutely. The one thing I preach is, you know, we all have different opinions. It's okay.
Yeah,
They're just
absolutely.
movies. It's just fiction. We can disagree.
That's another thing. Yeah, you really need to think about that.
What? That they're just fiction, and in the end, this means nothing.
Yeah, in a sense, I mean, it means something, but ultimately, at the end of the day, does it mean that much? You know, does it mean that much that you need to spend 2 years of your life, potentially more?
Well, if there's
to see?
AdSense in it, I mean, I guess.
Oh, that's a whole other thing, isn't it? I mean, that's just
Dude, I can't tell how many times I've been like, man, 1.5 million views on this, huh? Okay.
There's a couple of times I wish I could just slap like Ryan Johnson's face on a thumbnail of my video and put like the 2 red dots for the eyes and see the views tick up. But,
The puking meme or the puking emoji, just or the shit emoji, and just watch the views roll in. A big red X on it.
But maybe I think it might be that people don't gravitate towards the new heroes as much, and I can understand that
too.
You know, Rey, Poe, and Finn, they're not Luke, Han, and Leia. You know,
Sure.
They're particularly Han and Leia. I think those were such great personalities in that original trilogy, and that spark isn't quite there. You know, for better or worse. I really enjoy Finn and Poe, and particularly Rey, but you know, it's a different dynamic, and I think people maybe have a hard time with that. And they are the focal point of the trilogy. So
Yeah, I mean,
there's no way around that really. If you don't like those characters, you're going to struggle.
I think if there's a gripe that I could you know kind of attach myself to and say that I understand. If somebody were to complain about the new characters and how technically they're split up for most of The Last Jedi, they're supposed to be the new guys, and even in the prequel trilogy, even in the OG trilogy, you have at least 2 of the 3 major characters together. Like for Attack of the Clones, Anakin and Padme are together over on whatever the hell. The OG trilogy, Han and Leia are together. So
right.
that doesn't happen.
So you're saying that, so you could agree with that as a critique.
If you were saying, man, you know, I'm all about these new characters, but you split them up. You split them up, and I don't get to see them bond. That is something I'd be like, all right, I get that.
Yeah, I don't quite agree with that one, because that's something that John Boyega talked about. Did you read this? I didn't.
I'm trying so hard to avoid stuff.
People have been dunking on John Boyega. I think it's a bit much, but he said in an interview that he felt iffy on The Last Jedi. So he doesn't like that film very much, I guess. But in particular, he felt like he should have been with those other characters in The Last Jedi. And he's like, well, in the original trilogy, Luke, Han, and Leia were all together. But in Empire, you split those characters up because it's the middle chapter. The characters need to go through trials and tribulations in that kind of difficult second act. With Han and Leia, there was such an importance on that relationship and such a magnetic chemistry between the two. And Ryan Johnson said that he initially wrote Finn and Poe together for The Last Jedi, which is where I imagined it would go before the film came out. But he said he found when he was writing it, they were just having too much fun together because those characters really get on well. And so it just wasn't conducive to those 2 characters having trials and tribulations in which to go through in that second part. So with Poe, he has all the kind of friction with Leia and Holdo, and with Finn, he goes on a different journey. So I think that it was necessary. And with this last one, we're going to get to see the 3 together, and probably a lot of Finn and Poe stuff as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from the footage they've released, or the footage I've allowed myself to sit through, there's that weird, I don't know, that weird sand planet that appears to be some sort of party where they're all together on some. It looks like some sort of homage to Return of the Jedi. Every time when I say Jedi, I'm like, nope. You have to specify which Jedi you're talking about now.
Episode 6.
Yeah. But I didn't say that. I'm with you. I enjoy The Last Jedi. I'm just saying, if somebody said, you know what, I really want to see these characters, you know, I want them to bond.
Oh no, yeah, I understand that for sure. I can understand wanting it, but I also think that it was the right way to go for the arcs of all of them in that film and how it sets them up for the next one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just. I mean, I have nitpicks about stuff, but a Canto Bight I can kind of do without. But you know, the theme of the movie is failure. Like everybody in that movie just fails. The whole story of that movie is just failure. So like, yeah, all right, you need that. You need that for them to fail.
I think that's another thing, is that I don't think people, because it's a different kind of way to take it. I suppose that there's a bit of that in Empire too, where a lot of the characters kind of end up failing and so on. But yeah, it is a film in which, you know, they go through all of these steps and they don't end up doing the heroic thing. You know, like the whole Finn, Rose, DJ storyline is like they're going to save the day here, and they just don't. They just don't. And I think people thought, well, it's a waste of time. Well, is it? I don't know. It's different. I love that. I love that it was this whole thing, and you think that they're going to turn off the thing and everything's going to be... No, they don't. They fail. And people die. And it gets even more, you know, everything goes to hell at the end of the film. So I think maybe that as well, people aren't quite accustomed to seeing this big kind of sci-fi movie where everyone pretty much fails for the majority of the movie.
Yeah, like there's just gripes against it that... Like... To kind of go back to the failure stuff, one of my favorite characters, I'm a big mafia movie guy, but one of my favorite characters in a mafia movie is Al Pacino's character in Donnie Brasco, and he's just pathetic. Like he isn't what you would think of Al Pacino being in a mafia movie, and he's just kind of he's a a low level guy that never has money, and he's just kind of pathetic in that movie. And I think when I talk to people about that, they're like, oh, I don't like him in that. I'm like, but it's John Cazale, all of his roles, it's just him being pathetic. And I don't know, it's okay to see that every now and again.
Yeah, it's a really underrated film.
Indeed. And we're still like, that's the other thing too. Everybody judges things, and we're not done yet. Like we don't know the end, and for better or worse, we don't know where they're going with this. Granted, it seems like perhaps Disney didn't either. So I'll bend to that argument, but go ahead.
Lucasfilm.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the other one. Kathleen Kennedy is a maniac. All right.
I mean, I'm sure Disney have their pull, but I mean, it really is Lucasfilm. See, you never hear people call the Marvel films or the Disney Marvel films.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Never happens, does it? People love to attach Disney as this negative connotation on the Star Wars films, and it's like, yeah, they own it, they have their say, but Lucasfilm are the company making the films. But one last thing with The Last Jedi with Luke is, yeah, it's really tough to see this hero in this low state, but then the ending for him is so fucking triumphant.
Yeah.
I don't know how people didn't embrace that, because it's this epic moment where he fulfills what Yoda was saying in the original trilogy. Like, a Jedi's power should be used for knowledge and defense, never for attack. And in the prequels, we see the Jedi as these kind of boring, kind of like council members, and then the Clone Wars kick off and they're all about fighting because they have to. But the true kind of, germ of an idea of what a Jedi should be is what Luke fulfills in the end of The Last Jedi, where he makes such an impact without really fighting anyone. And that's such a cool, different thing that I loved. So,
yeah. I agree. I agree. I'm kind of with you. I mean, I already 9 can be terrible, and I already kind of enjoy it more than the prequels. It would be upside down. I like 3 a lot more than 1 and 2. 1 and 2 are just kind of my least favorite Star Wars movies, period.
Do you know, I revisited we revisited the Phantom Menace a few days ago. I've always loved that film. A, for nostalgia when I was a kid, but B, I've always thought it was a bit of a misunderstood film. Not that it's a great film, but watching it now, it really is the least I've ever enjoyed it. There's a lot of boring stuff in it, It has its moments, it really does, but yeah, and I think a lot of the CGI is just aged terribly.
Horribly.
Doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s CGI. There's just not much texture to it. And so,
everything's
like,
flat.
because
Yeah.
it's evolved so quickly, in the past 20 years that it reflects. But I would love to see a George Lucas special edition of the Phantom Menace where the effects look, to today's standard. I don't know. I think that would.
You'd
help
have
the
to
film,
go back and reshoot backgrounds and stuff. I mean, I'm with you. There's so much stuff where it's just like, they're on a green screen. Do you really need this palace background that I know is fake? Can you just cheat it some?
There's a lot of practical stuff in Phantom Menace. I've been watching some of the behind the scenes again, and it's quite staggering how much they did do that was real. And I've always liked that about
Phantom Menace. I have 2 and 3 in my head still because.
Oh sure. Yeah. By 3, there's nothing. It is all like the clones are literally just like digital bodies with a face comped in. Like there's not even an actor in a suit. It's just, you can tell it's
So you showed me something before, and I guess it'll while we're still talking about irate fanboys and Reddit, I'm finding to be a bit of a poisonous well. So let me read this quote that you sent me this morning.
Oh, sure.
What are the legal implications? This is on the r/Star Wars subreddit. So if the Rise of Skywalker ends up being awful, I really hope it isn't, but probably will be. What would the legal ramifications be if the fan base effectively claimed Star Wars for itself? For instance, what if they created a council or a voting process for determining what was and what was not canon, ignored everything Disney put out or said, unless it was good, and people purely followed legend material, effectively open sourcing Star Wars through a loophole? I mean, I am sure you have to pay to use the Star Wars name and everything, but how far could you take it? So, expanded thoughts on that idea, Luke, that people just want to reappropriate the Star Wars name and nitpick. Who gets to pick, who do you select to this council? And it's treason. So
this is how democracy dies. I don't really have much to say about it, to be honest. I think some people take these things too seriously, I think. You could argue I take these things too seriously, my love for it and everything, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have much to say. It's just stupid. It really is.
Right. I like this. So we're going to be the counterbalance to this because people are just already prepared for the Rise of Skywalker to be terrible. I mean, like the clickbait articles are already claiming that there was nine endings and they were still filming and test audiences said it sucked. For the record, there's no way a film of this magnitude would be screened for a test audience. They know they're going to make money. They're not going to test this damn movie. But I digest. I digress. Yeah, so it's just it's absurd. Some of these things that they get wheels and that there's no movie to judge yet. Like this could be the greatest thing in the history of ever, and they're already preparing to storm the castle, and it's just like, guys, let it happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I think no matter what happens with episode 9, people are going to be pissed.
Oh yeah, even I think there was a quote that said J.J. Abrams said half of people are going to be pleased and half are going to be upset, and it's just like, oh boy, you acknowledge that people are going to be upset now. now it's over.
There's actually a clip of Rian Johnson from like I think the 2000s where he's saying that if he got to make a big movie, he would expect that the way he would make it, 50% of people would hate it. Mm-hmm. So kind of a similar quote there.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem like. If you just take the basics, 7 and 8, 7 was too samey and 8 was too different. That's it. You just take what you're getting because I don't know. Go play the game and watch Mandalorian, because there's no pleasing you at this point. Having said all that, we're on to the next. Oh, and now Luke is stuck again. Yeah, the reconnecting. He's got a poor network connection. Again, this will be cut out. So if you want to listen to us on your drive to work, this part here won't be here. If you'd like to listen to us banter while you're working out, this part here won't exist. It'll seem a bit more better. Hey, no, it says missed call. That's not good. What's up, Tim? Just trying to get Luke back in here. Whoa, he's all huge. Hello there.
Hello.
And are you okay? Well, see, now this is now my picture's frozen. That's interesting.
Yeah, your video froze and then my Skype just closed completely. So
Okay. So I'm pretty sure everybody can hear me. It looks yeah, they're saying it looks like I'm listening intently. All right, so let me where is my thing? I've got to turn that off. Turn it back on. Nope.
No.
Don't worry. Off with you.
Okay.
Nope. Well, apologies to those watching live. Again, check out the Show Business podcast if you want to not have this be a part of your experience. But thank you for holding on and bearing with us. Luke, why don't you give us a story about how many times you saw The Last Jedi while I try to...
I don't think anyone wants to know that. I saw it 8 times.
In the theater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People sound so shocked by that, but it was a multitude of reasons. Obviously wanting to see the film quite a few more times, but also seeing it with different people. So
Sure. Yeah.
it's like the initial opening morning, I went twice. Then with Connie, then we went again because she really wanted to see it for a second time, and then with my cousins, I think, my brother for the 4DX. So, and I think there was an IMAX screening.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went with my mum as well, which is like almost impossible to drag her to the cinema. So.
Okay, so something happened with my camera.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll trek forward. Again, even more reason to listen. I just made Luke bigger. And again, Show Business, the podcast, it'll be a Star Wars special within the next day or two. So this won't be there. I got to try to remember what the last thing we spoke about before all hell broke loose.
Yeah, I think we're briefly talking about that whole stupid reclaiming Star Wars for the public and all that kind of bullshit.
JJ publicly saying that half are going to hate it, which is just kind of whatever. So I'm excited. I after I saw the first trailer, I wasn't too fired up. Which I could say the same thing for The Last Jedi, to be honest. The Last Jedi, I think I was the most disconnected because, in my personal life, I was just all over the place anyway.
Yeah.
So I was back and forth. I mean, when the first trailer came, I was in Denmark. When I watched the movie, I was in New York. So personally, I was shifting back and forth, and a lot on my mind. So I just didn't let it take hold of me. This year, when the first teaser came out for Rise of Skywalker, I was like, oh, I don't. Well, let me rephrase that, because the first teaser was technically half footage of the of the rest of the saga and maybe 2 or 3 clips of Rise of Skywalker. I guess what I mean is the first trailer. When that came, I was like, all right. So she died. She jumps over a ship, and yeah, not much else. I wasn't too fired up, and I guess the final trailer. When was that the final trailer? When did we get the laughter from Palpatine?
That was in the first.
Was
trailer.
it really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was in the one where she jumps over the TIE fighter, and then they kind of end with the shot of the Death Star in the water, and then just his laugh.
Really? All right. So I might have my time frame wrong then, because I certainly was intrigued after that. I was just like, well, that's regardless of how they're going to explain it, just to see Ian McDiarmid as as Palpatine again, I really hope he really owns it. And, as much as I'm all about seeing what they're going to do with Kylo, if they just push him to the side, I wouldn't be that mad. But no, yeah, I'm infinitely intrigued, and it's just been building, and now I'm kind of like, all right, let's get going. Emily, bless her soul, she's been a good sport about this as I've been dragging her through the movies, and she's just she likes the memes. She's all about she's about like pop culture, what people that don't know anything about Star Wars know about these things. She laughs at. I'm just like, what's funny? She's like, oh, I know this from a meme. I'm like, oh. So bless her. She's got one more week of torture left, and it's all done for her. But I'm, our spectrum is at opposite ends. She's, putting up with it, and my anticipation's just growing, and I'm about ready, which is a lot more than I could say about this time 2 years ago. I was just kind of like, all right, I have tickets, I'm gonna go, whatever, it's gonna happen. But now I'm not quite Force Awakens excited, but
no.
Yeah, it's like you said. There's no way they're gonna like. I don't know if any. Like you said, I don't know if any movie can match that hype and that anticipation.
No. It's tricky. There's a 30-year gap, pretty much between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, and I think the main thing when that was announced was, are the main three going to come back? And I think most people thought Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher would, but Harrison Ford, don't know so much, and there he was
in the trailer.
He turned up as well. He was great in that film, I thought. So
sure, I think that he was his best in that movie. I think Harrison Ford. My favorite Harrison Ford performance is The Force Awakens, as far as Star Wars is concerned. That's just me.
That makes sense.
As for you, Luke, how's your anticipation, your last couple months played out?
Yeah, it's building. It's in a weird way, I'm almost looking forward for it to be over, if that makes any kind of sense. Just in terms of the speculation, but also just being able to step back and look at the 3 films, and then the 9 films, and see how that all kind of fits together. Been heavy emphasis from JJ about tying all 9 movies together.
Wow.
And the co-writer as well, saying they want to tie all 9 films together, which has led to even more speculation, of course. And I think that might be too lofty of a promise to kind of, link everything together. But I do think that there is a potential there for Palpatine to kind of be the puppet master of everything if they work that into it. And I think we talked about that in the last stream we did, where I really would like to see it where he has kind of been having some influence over 7 and 8 in some way, shape, or form. For it to be just like, okay, Snoke's done now. Now the Emperor's just going to turn up and go, okay, I'll have a go at it,
Yeah.
That would be a bit of a shame. I think it needs to... I like the idea of him being the literal Phantom Menace of the sequel trilogy, and kind of maybe not having complete control over everything, but maybe kind of just, in his own slight way, kind of having influence. That would make it more interesting to me with him coming back. But like you said, at the end of the day, just having Ian McDiarmid back is fucking awesome. And I can't wait to just see him and Adam Driver acting in a scene together. That's going to be incredible, I think.
Yeah. So if you have a checklist for what you want to see, what you need to see, for this movie to work for you? What's on those two separate lists? Want and need are separate categories.
I would say we need a similar, if not greater, focus on Rey and Kylo's relationship from The Last Jedi, which I think, it's inevitable, and I don't think we're not going to see that. That's,
Right.
It really is the whole story to me, is those two and how they fit together and where their story is going to end ultimately. So that's kind of a big thing. And that's what I like. I like that, and that's what I loved about The Last Jedi, was that it took everything away to the point where, right, Episode 9 is about Rey and Kylo.
Right.
Luke's kind of out of the picture. I'm sure he'll have some influence over, what happens in Episode 9 in some way, shape, or form. But and Leia as well. Now,
that's the unfortunate part about all this.
It is. So I don't know if you heard this, and it is kind of. I don't think it's a spoiler.
This was supposed to be her movie. Is that what you're about to say?
No,
Okay.
no. They had some display recently with all the costumes from Episode 9, and they had Carrie Fisher's costume. I don't know how that works when she never wore it, but they had Leia's costume from Episode 9.
Okay.
And the official blurb on the little plaque says, Leia has been training Rey in the ways of the Jedi.
Oh.
Which is kind of what I was thinking would happen in terms of the time jump, which we haven't had yet in the sequel trilogy.
Oh yeah.
So obviously we're picking things up a year or so later, and I did think that, in some way she'd be mentoring Rey. I didn't know whether it would be literally in the ways of the Force or whatever, but I'm intrigued to see how that all fits and how they use the old footage, and the shots of her in the trailers, they look okay. People say, oh, it's seamless. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can tell that you can tell they've kind of digitally redone everything but her face. But so that's one. Where was I going with that? I had a thread. And
Carrie, Princess Leia.
Yeah. No.
There it goes.
It's,
Bye, idea. What are you, me?
Okay, so just like establishing new characters. Yeah, so that it would just be Rey and Kylo, but now we throw Emperor into the mix, and again, I'm just really intrigued to see how big of a part he's going to play overall. But Rey and Kylo to me is like the main focus. That's what I really want the most. There's not too many there's not really a checklist for me really. I would say just an ending that satisfies me. I suppose such a vanilla answer to a question like that. Okay, no. Here's what I really want more than anything is not a repeat of Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
I don't want to see Kylo Ren redeem himself, turn to the light side of the Force, and then die taking out the
Really, that's the
Emperor.
one thing everybody appears to want.
But it's the part where he dies doing it by taking out the Emperor, which is the exact same ending as Return of the Jedi. I'm sure that there'll be different kind of shades in that. It won't be the exact. It won't be him picking up the Emperor and throwing him down the shaft. I think it would be a shame if after all that we're just kind of redoing what came before, in that sense. The question of is he going to redeem himself is kind of a silly one. I think that's definitely where the movie is going, but how he does it and how they end the note on his character, because I'm not sure if ending the Skywalker saga with the entire family dead is really the most kind of hopeful.
Well,
kind
I mean,
finale, but it seems like that there's no other way it can go. So, yeah.
To use a wrestling term, if they were to have a dual heel and face turn, because they kind of teased it in one of those shots from earlier on that Rey has what looks like a converted version of Darth Maul's lightsaber, which it kind of swings open, but it looks like it's some sort of vision. Rey looks a little more, her face looks a little more thin or Maleficent-esque, if I could say so. That would be intriguing to me. I don't think they'll have the balls to do it, but
no, it's not going that way at all. I don't think that would be a surprise. That would be a real shock. I don't expect to be shocked.
I would love to be shocked.
I would love to be too. And full disclosure, I have been reading leaks and so on, which I think I mentioned before as well. It is, but I don't know. It's really intriguing to me with The Last Jedi. It was like radio silence, don't want to know anything, you know. And then this, I'm kind of just like, you know, tapping my keyboard, like, give me all that. I don't know. I almost want to prepare myself. But I think I've got to the point now where I've read so much that it's all melding, and I don't really feel like I know the full picture, you know. But I know quite a few things that.
Yeah, I'm the polar opposite. I remember Dennis saw it. So Dennis, our buddy in Denmark, he saw it 2 days earlier than me, and he's like, "Well, I saw it." I'm like, "All right, just give it to me." He's like, "You sure?" I'm like, "Yeah, just I want to hear it." And
wait, which one are we talking about?
Jedi, The Last Jedi. For some reason, okay. I'm the flip flop of you. I'm the inverse of how you feel. I don't want to hear anything about this. I really want to, you know, this is it. This is it. Take me out. However you're going to do it. I don't want anything ruined. Shit, I really wish they kept the Emperor a secret, but I don't know how the hell they would have done that. But so people in the YouTube chat have been saying things along the lines of, do you think Snoke was a puppet of Emperors in 7 and 8? Somebody even said Snoke had to be a bad or deformed effort of the Emperor. Perhaps that's why he looks all messed up like that. That'd be pretty neat, I would say.
Yeah, I don't need explanation on Snoke, but I think it would go some way to maybe settling some people's minds, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because people were not happy about how that went down either. To me, it seemed on a very surface level he was an emperor wannabe, you know.
Right.
Kind of like an evil Wizard of Oz, you know. He kind of ruled through manipulation and like literally having holograms of himself that are much larger than he actually is in person.
Right.
And, you know, having his own throne room, it seemed very kind of Palpatine fanboy in a way. But there are things like when he lifts Rey up into the air, we hear the Emperor's theme very, very briefly.
Really?
And I always wondered why is the Emperor's theme in that little moment there.
Oh,
you know?
yeah, like somebody speculated that the music is very similar to when during that scene, somebody said the music was similar to when Palpatine is discussing the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. It's the very same score or very similar score in that moment, and I was like, that's interesting. So everybody, you know, goes crazy saying, "Oh, he's Darth Plagueis," and that's disintegrated.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind a little bit of a Snoke explanation, but I don't think it needs to be dwelled on too much, really, either.
Well, so I can understand why people would want some sort of explanation, but to use a poor comparison, the prequel trilogy we had Darth Maul as the villain in 1. We had what's his face, Dracula. Why is his name? I just watched it.
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee. What's his character's name?
Count
Dooku, and then Coughing Robot for part of 3, where like if you just watch the movies and Admiral Bone to Pick shows up, you're just like, oh, so this is the bad guy now. Cool. General Grievous, awesome. So it kind of feels like that, like if they just like shove a villain on our face. We've seen it before and we've kind of taken it. So if they don't explain it, oh, yeah, all right, whatever. But if they're going to bring the Emperor back, they better tell us why and what the hell's going on. I don't mind retconning a little bit too. Just yeah. I'm willing. I'll meet you halfway. Just get me the rest of the way.
Yeah. I mean, you know, another thing that people seem to talk about is how this trilogy seems to be fairly strung together. And I don't know how much of that I buy. I think to some degree it has to be true. But also, if you look at the making of the original trilogy, it was the same process. You know, you can literally read in the making of books of the original trilogy, like meetings that Lucas was having with other writers and stuff, and they're like, oh, so how could we go with Empire Strikes Back? Well, maybe this happens. Oh, that one, maybe that, you know. So very kind of fluid way of going into the trilogy and so on. It's not necessarily a bad thing, I don't think, you know.
Right.
And people take it a bit too seriously, like, oh, it should have been all laid down in stone like 8 years ago, or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, even the prequels Lucas said that he had to fill space. Like he had enough for like apparently he had the, I forgot where I read this or something. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. Like he had what we saw in 3 and the end of 2 in mind, and the rest was just like kind of, buying time, which it's weird. He was working backwards from 4, 5, 6. So this is they kind of have carte blanche where it's just what do you want to do with the rest of the saga here, which I guess is the end of the Skywalkers, like we brought up, although titling it Rise of Skywalker is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really intriguing. Yeah. Well, I mean, even though I've read a lot of leaks and stuff, there's still many questions, and I think details that, and I mean, I read a leak about Episode 7, which I wasn't really fully aware that it was a leak, and it said that Luke's not going to be in the movie until the last scene, and he's going to be in it for 30 seconds and not say anything. And I thought, there's no way, not a chance. That is awful. If that happens, I'll hate it, And it happened, and I loved it. I thought it was great. So you can read something sometimes, and it isn't quite the same, until you see it and how they execute it. So
have you read something that you've been a little turned off by?
Yeah, there's a big thing that people are very upset about, for sure. And I'm certainly like, that doesn't sound too good to me.
Man.
But I think there's more to it. I think that they've kept some things under wraps, and I think there's still some surprises that haven't leaked out yet. So
I want to know, but I don't. Like it's so. It's one more week. We almost got it.
We can talk about all that stuff.
Yeah, I hope it's wrong for your sake, but if it isn't,
even then, I mean, that's just reading it in a sentence that has been relayed from. I mean, if it's legitimate, it's been relayed from someone who's seen it to someone else, and so on. But the context of how it's done in the movie, in a cinematic setting that's been building up, it's completely different. Like the Luke scene in The Force Awakens. So that was something I thought I would hate. Ended up loving it because of the way that it was executed and how the whole movie was about Luke and the mystery of Luke and what happened to him. So it was such a kind of great literal cliffhanger.
What do you need from? Well, what do you want to see from Finn? I mean, we know Rey and Kylo are the whatever, the big ones. What do we need from Finn?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk all day about how Finn's arc in The Last Jedi was really good, and I love where they took his character, and it was really necessary and everything. But to be completely honest, I need Finn to kind of be there and do the kind of fighty, hero-y stuff, and that's about it. I'm not too concerned.
Wow, okay.
I'm all about the even Poe and that whole side storyline that's probably going to take place in the film, like with Janna, I believe is the new character they're introducing. That whole kind of B plot where obviously we're going to see the resistance against the First Order and perhaps the Empire in some form. Just needs to be exciting action and showing you the good guys against the bad guys. But I would like to see perhaps some kind of linking back to his origin of being a stormtrooper. I don't think we need a lot of exposition-y backstory or anything, but maybe some kind of resolution to that in some form of him. Because I'm not sure if we've seen him kind of. Well, I guess we did see him fighting against the First Order in The Last Jedi, but I think there was some talk of people wanting to see him lead a stormtrooper uprising, which seems like a really cool idea, but perhaps just too big to kind of squeeze in,
Yeah, in one film, yeah. Planting the seed maybe in 8, and then maybe following through in 9. Sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you make of? I mean, so again, we've seen a shot of Rey, what looks like a Sithy Rey. But we've also seen shots of what appears to be, I don't know, a space full destroyers. Like it's a lot. They just fill the screen. What do you make of that? Do you think it's a vision? Do you think there's just hundreds of destroyers? Like what do you make of that shot that we've seen in the trailer?
I think that's one of the more clear story elements. Really, is that
Okay.
I think that it's clear to me that, and this isn't even from reading a leak or anything. It seems fairly clear that the Emperor has some sort of contingency plan. And there was even a storyline in the Battlefront 2 campaign that kind of links to that, but I don't really like to. It's technically canon, but I don't. I really separate all that stuff, and the movies are kind of their own thing for me, which is, that's my own head canon. But I think it's a contingency plan. We see a sky full of Imperial Star Destroyers, not First Order ones. And I think even in the final trailer, it's like, long have I waited. And you see an Imperial Star Destroyer kind of like rise out of the ground or whatever. So I think that there is there's some sort of contingency plan going on there, and it's kind of like you could almost see like a Resistance versus First Order versus the Empire mega battle. I don't know how that's going to work exactly.
Oh wow. Oh, so you think it's going to be like a Mexican standoff, not First Order?
I don't think so. No. Oh, well, I don't know. I'm not sure how that works. I'm really not sure how that links.
Yeah, like whose side is the First Order on then?
Yeah, exactly. Whether it's, First Order is just like a subsection of, I don't know. Just have to wait and see, I suppose. But there's all these little things that I have no idea where it's going to go, and I'm looking forward to seeing how all the, pieces land.
Yeah, I mean, I see that and I think, all right, well, how the hell are you supposed to? What are you going to do to defeat a sky full of destroyers? It just looks like there's hundreds of them. Like, yeah, I guess you have the Force and all, but I mean, if it ends up being Rey like Force crashing a destroyer, and Rey just does something that no other person in this series has done before, you think the backlash is going to be just epic?
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was going to joke that I'd read a leak where she just flies up into space and just like closes her fist, and then everyone just dies. No, I think what we're going to see is we're going to see some showdown with Rey, Kylo, and the Emperor, and whatever happens there, and then we're going to see Finn and Poe and all those heroes fighting out a big battle, like we've seen clips of, like riding the horses along with the spaceship.
That's strange looking. I'll be honest, a little odd.
In what sense?
Just horses in space,
No, that's not in space. It's in the atmosphere. You can see, I think you see clouds and stuff.
Oh, really?
So it's a very dark setting, but I think that maybe they're taking off and trying to get to space. I don't know. Maybe that's kind of
Okay.
That was certainly what I first thought when I saw it. I was like, oh,
yeah,
just out there in space.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I thought. I was just like, all right, there's a lot that I just can't. Hopefully, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I saw. I was just like, okay. There's that ice planet that looks like a big iceberg. I don't know what the hell. That looks interesting. Again, just a shot. Roger in the chat asked if you've heard any rumor or speculation about time travel, or is that all BS?
I haven't heard anything about that in a long time. No.
In a long time. Okay.
Yeah, it was rumored quite a bit, maybe like in the summer, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't read anything relating to that. So
that's good. Well, again.
Yeah, I think it would have been too much at the last moment, I think, to be like, hey, and by the way.
Well, they've introduced something. That's the other thing that people seem to gripe about with the Force. There's been something introduced in every movie that, somebody who has the Force can do this now. And, maybe we'll get something new. And I was, hopefully it's not time travel, but who knows what the new thing will be.
I think I kind of know. But
oh, really?
Yeah, time travel hasn't been something I've read, and like I said, it would have felt too, again, like the Finn thing. You need to set it up a bit. I don't know. It'd be too much to kind of go, oh, by the way, time travel exists, and now we're going to do all of this other stuff. And I really wouldn't have liked that if it happened, I think. So,
Kylo, you need to make sure that Han and Leia make up 20 years ago.
Screw it, I'd love to see that movie.
They need to kiss at the galactic dance. But your kids are going to love it.
Listen, Daddy.
Yes, yes.
Just imagine like Kylo in the original trilogy, and Luke's just like, "Oh, I like that Leia," and just, Kylo's like, "No, he's still holding on. Let go."
So somebody in the chat says it'd be cool if Rey pulls down a Star Destroyer like Starkiller. I agree, but I don't think half of the internet's gonna like that too much, because we never saw Luke do it. So whatever Luke didn't do, Rey can't do.
See, that was a cool moment in the video game for me, and that's kind of, I don't know, it's a bit too much, I think. I don't know. Maybe in the last movie you could pull out something like that, but I don't think. I don't know. When you're able to start doing that, then it kind of renders a lot of the other things obsolete, I think. It kind of lessens the stakes if you got someone who, if they just put their mind to it, they could just wreck everyone's shit. And
Well,
again, back to The Last Jedi, like people saying when Luke walked out there, he should have like just force smashed all of the walkers and everything. It's like, yeah, that would have been fucking amazing, but then where do you go from there? Because now the bad guys are gone.
Oh yeah.
Or at least you've and Luke's this godlike
Thanos
character. Yeah, that's so.
Just snaps his fingers, they're gone.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's episode 9 would just be Luke just killing all the bad guys, being untouchable.
What did it cost? Everything. I've seen a lot of people say that Anakin needs to come back.
Yeah, that's a big one. I'm conflicted on that because I don't love
Search your feelings.
the Hayden Christensen in Return of the Jedi thing. I understand it. I get it. I totally understand it. But I grew up with the old man Anakin, Sebastian Shaw. That to me is the ending of that movie. And I don't know. Yeah.
Who?
It makes sense.
Who would know him as Hayden Christensen? Like who? Any of them? Nobody would know him as that guy.
It's like when Luke looks over at the end of Jedi and he's like smiling at this guy he's never seen before.
Oh.
Like, at least he could recognize the old man who he just saw die in his arms.
There's Obi-Wan Yoda and some kid, I don't know, some guy.
Smiling very creepily at us.
He must hate sand. Well,
yeah, it would make sense because he is in some way one of the main characters of the entire series, and at least in The Force Awakens we had a little bit of that with Kylo talking to the helmet, right? And that's actually on my checklist. I'd like to see that not resolved but touched on again.
Well, that's a shot that's in the trailer too, where that mask, the melted mask or helmet, is on a this pedestal or something, and both Rey and Kylo, I don't know if it's mid battle or they're purposely doing it, but they kind of take that thing out.
Yeah. So it would make sense for him to appear, and I would understand that. And you would think, given Return of the Jedi, we see him as a Force ghost, which would you assume that he could then appear like Obi-Wan appeared throughout the original trilogy, and you would assume that he would go, "Hey, grandson, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is not you're misreading this completely, But he hasn't, so why not? I don't know.
So what if Anakin comes back and he's what the Force needs to destroy the Emperor?
That would be interesting.
You're smiling weird. Shit. Have you read something?
No. In fact, in terms of leaks and stuff, Anakin's been there hasn't really been much about that. I think if Anakin's in the film, it's a top secret kind of surprise. No, I was smiling because I was doing my frames project last night with The Last Jedi, and I was imagining in the scene when Rey and Kylo are kind of reaching for the lightsaber and they're kind of caught in the middle. I was imagining just as a fun kind of what if concept, like Anakin's spirit kind of standing there and kind of like making sure either can't get it, can't get his lightsaber because it's like the time. Yeah. That was just like I don't think that's a theory or anything.
That is pretty neat.
But I just thought just a cool kind of idea. I don't know. I just thought, because and I like how his lightsaber has become this kind of, was brought back in The Force Awakens, has become this kind of mythic object. I like that a lot.
Well, so if you're trying to wrap up all 9, Anakin is the chosen one. He's the one who's supposed to bring balance to the Force.
Right. That's another thing. If you really wanted to wrap up or tie everything together in a neat little package, I think you would have to kind of touch on that, really, because that's the whole prequel trilogy, is the chosen one prophecy, right? Which very neatly tied in with the end of Return of the Jedi. And he kills the Emperor. He kind of brings balance back
until 7, and then didn't something else happen?
But then, could you argue then that Rey and Kylo are kind of balanced? They have this kind of yin and yang kind of relationship where there's like a duality to them. They're opposites, but they're connected, and they kind of complement each other at the same time. And maybe there's a balance between the two of them.
Always two there are, though. There needs to be another Sith.
For the most part. Well, no, I don't know.
I'll tell you this. That damn line in Revenge of the Sith, only a Sith deals in absolutes. The only people that you hear saying stuff in absolutes are the Jedi throughout the damn series. So that's some bull dinky. That's some ironic bullshit there. Always two. There are only just superlatives and absolutes. That's all the Jedi are. Sorry. Sorry. From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
I've been thinking a lot lately about that boy was our last hope. No, there is another. And I keep thinking about Kylo. And so I think that whatever he does in the end is probably going to tie into that somehow. Whether you look at it as literal tying into that or not, I think that's probably the way it's going to go. And I don't know how I feel about it. I even when Episode 7 was announced, I thought, great, I wanted to see this since I was a kid, but it ended so perfectly.
6, yeah.
Return of the Jedi, yeah. It had such a fitting end.
Well, didn't George technically say he had 9? Didn't he say he had 9 in mind?
He had 12 in mind at one point.
Really?
It's chopped and changed over the years. At one point he said that 7, 8, and 9 were going to be more like abstract films, like more of the experimental things that he was doing in the beginning of his career.
Oh.
Much more spiritual and kind of, again, abstract. But
no wonder why Disney was like, no, we're all set. Thanks, buddy. Go ahead, take your money and enjoy Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, Anakin, it's conflicting. Again, I think it would make sense for him to appear, but I wouldn't want him to override kind of Rey and Kylo. And I'm not the biggest fan of Hayden Christensen as Anakin either, but I wouldn't mind it, I suppose.
I guess my point is who's strong enough, like if the Emperor comes back, who's strong enough to like genuinely take him out and to the point that we'd believe it?
Rey and Kylo.
Together?
Yeah, I mean, it's all there in those first 2 films where it's like, and that's the thing I love about the sequel trilogy really, is that it's a difference in the storytelling, because we have not one chosen one, but 2 chosen ones.
Well,
the prequels it was Anakin. The original trilogy it was Luke. Here it's Rey, but also Kylo, in the sense that you have these 2 prime of their kind of Jedi life, one on the light, one on the dark.
Well, do you think they're going to retcon Rey's background? Because that was brought up quite a bit, that they're gonna change.
I don't think they're going to retcon it. They're going to give their explanation for it. I think that the scene with Kylo saying, say who your parents are, and she says they're nobody. I think that's what she thinks. That's what she believes deep down. But I don't think she fully knows. I think it's a locked part of her memory. Somehow.
Well, I mean, Kylo does say, they're junk traders or something like that. Doesn't he say that?
Yeah, and I believe that's what he saw in her mind, and that's what she kind of believes deep down. But I don't think it's the truth.
Well, they better explain that.
So I don't think it'd be retconning it. I think the door was left pretty wide open for that, and I think there'll be something there for sure.
Yeah. So only, well, not only, but if it's something other than Rey and Kylo that ends up saving the day, you can able to take it. If it's what if it's this like, what if it is this Avengers thing where you get like Force Yoda, Obi-Wan? I don't know how they can do Obi-Wan.
Quite easily, probably.
Oh yeah. Considering our recent history, sure. Oh yeah. No, maybe you're thinking of somebody who's still alive. But what if they do some like Avengers thing with Force ghosts and they all take out the Emperor?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very cool on paper, and I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that happen. But I think that if you want to stay true to the trilogy and the story that this has been telling, I think that Rey and Kylo really need to kind of do it together. I think, perhaps with some help,
Sure.
Yeah, I think maybe the final push could perhaps involve that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There might be some kind of. I was going to say there could be some just desserts in seeing Anakin kind of reemerge and kind of help take down Palpatine, but we've seen him do that already. He's already kind of vanquished that demon in his life. So I don't know.
Well,
it's like the thing with Obi-Wan in Return of the Jedi. He's like, I can't help you. You must face Vader again alone. You need to do it. And if we're to kind of again look at everything now and how Yoda was able to, crack that lightning down in The Last Jedi, then perhaps Obi-Wan could have intervened, but he decided not to because it needed to be something Luke does on his own, perhaps. I don't know. That's what happens when you introduce these new rules and kind of recontextualize everything and kind of look at it like that, even if it wasn't intended originally.
So, what do you expect? Like, so I guess to wrap up our thoughts, what are you expecting? Like, what would please you as far as just wrapping the story up? Does it need to wrap these three? Is wrapping up all 9 a bonus? Like, does it need to do fan service for you?
It depends what you mean by fan service, I guess. I mean, there's ways of doing it that are tasteful. Some
short of
so
Rogue
much,
One, just shoehorning stuff in there. You'll be dead.
I don't know. No, that was fine. I tell you what, I didn't like in Rogue One fan service wise was the R2 and 3PO cameo.
Oh,
because it was very much just like, hey kids, look. We're other things. I mean, it's a delicate line to dance across, I think, with fan service and so on. But ultimately, it's just meant to please you, But it's such a dirty term, fan service. Like, oh, they're giving us what we would like to see. But I do get the negative connotation where it's just they're trying too hard to please you. Maybe just being a bit too on the nose. I totally get that, actually. Say Solo, for example. Hey, the fans would love to know how he got his name. It's like, no, we didn't need to have that really basic and awful explanation of why he's called Han Solo. But yeah, so I just want to, I don't know. It would be nice, like you say, a bonus for it to tie up everything, but they keep calling it the Skywalker saga, right? So it needs to, in some way, I think, give us closure on that, which we kind of got in Return of the Jedi, but now that they've kind of re-earthed everything and given us a new trilogy, I think they need to wrap it all up in a way that kind of services the whole family in a way. Very intrigued to see how they handle Leia. I'm assuming she's going to die at some point in the movie. How they handle that is going to be interesting, or maybe they don't. I don't know. I mean, it's really.
I gotta go. I'll be back in a couple of years. Oh, okay.
Because I remember after The Last Jedi, my thought was they should just write her out of the movie, and maybe in the opening crawl say that in the past couple of years she passed away or something. And I read an interview with J.J. Abrams where he's like, that absolutely could not happen. There's no way we could disservice her by doing that. And I understand that too, So.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when they were talking about it was like a week after she died. They were talking about, all right, she shot all her stuff for Last Jedi. You know, she was done, but they're not gonna, you know, they're not gonna think about, you know, her in 9. And I was like, why are we talking about this? It's first of all, it's still a year before Last Jedi comes out. Secondly, everything's fresh. Like that, you know, the corpse is still warm, for a lack of a polite term. You know, of course. I mean, Carrie Fisher. It'd be a different story if she didn't have such fondness. I don't know. Maybe if it was Harrison Ford, maybe there'd be a different scenario. But Carrie Fisher's so fond of you know what the franchise has meant to her. Like.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was kind of obvious that whatever they could do to gently have her fade away in story, you know, approach that. You know, of course he didn't plan for this, but, you know, work something out. I don't think, especially considering her daughter Billy is a part of these new movies, granted in a small role, but, you know, I'm pretty sure she had an idea and, you know, gave them the go-ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I read an interview there, not an interview, it was actually an article she wrote, and it was very beautifully written, actually, and she talks a lot about how she's now the custodian of Leia, as well as her mother and stuff. And so, obviously worked with Lucasfilm in terms of, like, what do we do with it and everything, and had to say in that. But yeah, you're right. Carrie always had the fondness for the whole Star Wars world, I think, more than even Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford. I just listened to a really long interview with Mark Hamill and Frank Oz, which was really cool. And Hamill was saying, like, you know, at one point in his career, he was getting quite, like, just not talk about Star Wars, you know. Like, he was doing a play on Broadway or something, and it was like Mark Hamill, known for a space series or something. And she said to him, "You haven't even put the title of the movie there." And he's like, "Well, you know," and she's like, "Get your head out your ass. You know, this has given us so much, and you should, you know, embrace it more."
Wow.
Yes, so I mean, he talked about how they had a very, you know, brother-sister relationship where they would get quite, you know, hot-headed with each other, but, you know, loved each other as well. And
that's sweet.
So, yeah, she always embraced it, you know, full on, and I think that she would probably love that her character gets to live on one more movie, and, you know, she gets kind of top billing as well, which is kind of cool.
Sure. Yeah, so...
But, yeah, ultimately, yeah, I would like to see it kind of wrap up the Skywalker story, but it's... I want it to be hopeful and not somber, because it probably will end with all the Skywalkers dead.
The title's Rise of Skywalker, for Pete's sake.
Yeah. I have my theories on how that's going to tie into it as well, I suppose. But
well, go on. It's your theory, so it's just your theory. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think...
You could be wrong.
I think I said this in the last stream, again, when we talked about it, that maybe... you know, like when Luke is saying, like, the Jedi needs to end and all this, maybe it does, and maybe the next form of the Jedi is, you know, a Skywalker. I don't know. Maybe there's like a co-op thing of the name, the legacy, or maybe Rey takes on the name in tribute to them, and I suppose, because as it said in that little thing with the Leia's outfit, that Leia has been training Rey. You know, you could kind of look at it as Leia and Luke being her masters in a sense, and maybe, I don't know, maybe she sees them as surrogate parents. I don't know. It's tricky though, because you can't really convey the Leia-Rey relationship very well, because they didn't really have many scenes together. And so was it that shot of them hugging in the trailers? So they probably... Actually, no, I'm not sure if...
That's from Force Awakens, isn't it? Isn't it just that shot just kind of repurposed?
Yeah. I guess they've put new everything over Carrie's face, I suppose, is the way they've done that. So yeah, that to be honest, that's probably the one thing I'm really most intrigued by, is how they handle Leia, I suppose. It's kind of a big intrigue point for me. That's something that hasn't really been mentioned in many of the leaks, actually. So there's still quite a bit of mystery around that.
Yeah, and we're going to see Mark Hamill too. Like is that should that be a shock to anybody? Like, I really feel like people...
Well, they announced it 2 years ago, I think, or about 18 months ago.
It's just strange that people are like, oh, no more Mark Hamill. It's just like, wait, you know, you saw... Obi-Wan was more dead in the original trilogy than he was alive, so what are you talking about? Obi-Wan's a ghost for two and two-thirds of a movie. What are you talking about?
Oh, here's something on my checklist that will never
Okay.
happen. I want to know how the fuck does Obi-Wan know who Rey is? In The Force Awakens,
Oh
you hear
yeah,
him call out to her,
that
like,
vision.
Rey? I'm convinced it was just a cool
Yeah.
thing JJ wanted to throw in there, and it has no actual story sense
If
at
they
all.
can pay off that vision of hers, because she goes back to
Right.
what, the Empire, like that battle scene, like the hallway of, was it the Death Star? She goes back to that. She goes and watches what looks like Kylo Ren just murk somebody in the middle of their chest. Luke at the burnt down his little whatever the hell, which I guess we've kind of seen that already. But her vision, like, and yeah, why is Obi-Wan calling out to her? So if they could wrap all that up, that'd be nice.
I doubt they will. Like, because at the time I was convinced she was Luke's kid. You know, it all seemed to make sense. Like, she was seeing moments of the Skywalker's family past, and that when she sees Kylo and the Knights of Ren, I think, and he stabs the guy like in front of her, and people theorized it was like her as a kid, and he saves her. You know, like the burning of the Jedi Temple, and she was there, and he saved her, and then she got sent off. You know. And then obviously Obi-Wan calling out to her, like, how else would he know her unless, I don't know.
Great.
All very intriguing.
They're like, well, we have access to Ewan McGregor. Well, it's just
I really think that's it. I really do think that's it, you know. Because I think we hear Yoda's voice is in that vision as well. And I think the Emperor's voice is in it as well. So...
Is it? Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we hear the Emperor. But it's like quotes from like the other films, I think, those parts. Whereas the Obi-Wan, he's literally like, Rey, these are your first steps, right? Why is he kind of, you know? But I genuinely believe that was just like, hey, this would be a cool thing.
So, correction in the YouTube chat. Well, she's seeing the lightsaber's vision, not hers.
Yeah, I definitely considered that. It was like the, well, yeah, but I mean, so she sees Luke and Vader. Apparently they shot that. Apparently they shot a version of the Empire Strikes Back duel with like a Mark Hamill, a different actor for young Mark Hamill, which is, yeah, there's a picture of it somewhere of the young Luke actor who looks nothing like Luke. It's probably why they cut it from the film.
Wait, and that was going to be in The Force Awakens?
Yeah, it's going to be that vision. So I'm glad they cut that.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so she is seeing the lightsaber, but then like Luke's lightsaber isn't there with the Knights of Ren and Kylo when he kills the guy. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Why would that lightsaber be with the Knights of Ren?
Yeah.
I mean, I get all the past stuff. That makes. Well, wait a minute. That's Anakin's lightsaber. That's not Vader's lightsaber. So Anakin's lightsaber wasn't. Oh no, wait. Luke had Anakin's lightsaber in Empire. All right. Well, that makes sense, I guess. Fine.
Well, we've got to the part where we're two Star Wars fans like, wait, how does this make sense? How does this fit into this kind of... You always need a moment like that.
So is there any way this redeems itself to at least 2/3 of the fan base? I'm not even going to go half. Is there a way that... No, we're going to be split no matter what, right?
Yeah, I really don't foresee them pleasing everyone for sure, and I don't see them pleasing a majority either, I don't think. But then, I don't know, I sometimes feel like we're just seeing like a vocal minority in some cases, but it really is overpowering.
Well, sure, I mean, you look at Solo's numbers, which, sure, in comparison to everything else that's been released through the Disney banner, it is quite weak, as far as Star Wars concerned, quite weak. But everything else under the Disney banner has made over $1 billion. And Force Awakens, for as much as people thought that was too samey, that's the highest grossing film in American history. Still higher than Avengers Endgame. So I don't know. Does it need to please everybody? Because Force Awakens didn't. I remember the internet. I spent 2 months answering people's shit on YouTube where I was like, no, you're a maniac.
Wrong crutch.
Yeah, like I don't know. The internet makes everything so different. Where I just think some dude who's wants to watch a space battle to to not think about his dumb office job. Doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. No, I think, I really can't foresee it kind of tying everything together in a way that's going to make everyone happy. I don't think, because I think the problems people have with 7 and 8 are just inherent to the characters that populate them.
Mm-hmm.
There's people who just don't like Rey, people who don't like Kylo, or Poe, or Finn, or whatever. I think people are going to not enjoy the fact that Emperor's in it. I think they've already said they feel like it's trying to fix things, or what's the term? Kind of, to fix the Last Jedi, retcon, salvage it, So there's already a narrative going into it for some people. I think they want to see it as a failed attempt at fixing the trilogy or whatever. But I can hope that it would,
sure,
please people more than the last
and
one.
my advice to those who may have I'm excited, and I'm setting myself up to be let down. So there's that, because I had nothing that I was thinking about when it came to Last Jedi and Force Awakens. Like, sure, it was fan service, but man, it just totally paid off everything you were, just geeking out about. So that was fun to have that. If 9's a disappointment, at least, it's like you said, at least we had that Force Awakens experience, which I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever replicate that feeling again in anything.
Yeah, it's tricky because the build up to Force Awakens was just incredible,
Mm-hmm.
and then the actual movie of The Last Jedi was incredible to me. So the build up to this isn't the same as Episode 7, and I don't think the movie's going to be the same as The Last Jedi in terms of how fulfilling it is to me.
Mm-hmm.
So already it's kind of got that working against it, but I really liked what JJ did with Force Awakens.
Sure.
And I really don't think you can probably go too wrong with Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, Ian McDiarmid as a kind of, acting trio of main characters in the
I love Adam Driver.
Jedi Sith. Oh, amazing. I think that that's probably the thing I'm most looking forward to is just him, because I love his performance in The Last Jedi so much. And I like we're getting the mask back because I really like the voice modulation, So just a little bit more of that would be cool. So I like that.
Well, plus the other thing is if you end up not liking Rise of Skywalker and you're going to be the vocal minority, you still got Mandalorian, you still got a decent Star Wars video game this year. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Which Mandalorian, I haven't noticed much complaint about that, except. I did. I noticed when the woman who was a badass from Deadpool came around, there was a lot of complaints, and it's just like, guys, you're really a caricature of yourself at this point.
That has been hilarious to me. The first 2 episodes, it's like, man, this show's so sexist. There's no female characters. Then like the 3rd episode was like all about strong female women, and it's like, oh, this is so sexist. It's such an unrealistic portrayal of women being badass. And then the last episode, there's a female bounty hunter, and spoilers, she gets shot at the end, and they're like, wow, this is so sexist. They just killed her off like she was nothing. It's like, guys, what?
What? Why don't you let the whole season play out before you pick a side?
But generally speaking, yeah, The Mandalorian seems to be really hitting a sweet spot for a lot of people. So, that's good. I'm glad that some people are finding joy in Star Wars finally.
Yeah, really. Like, that's all it's supposed to be, guys. It's just.
Yeah, And at the end of the day, if you really don't like the sequel trilogy,
don't watch.
Just watch the originals. They're still there. Mm-hmm. I don't love Alien 3 or Alien Resurrection. I just like the first 2 as the story, and the other ones are just kind of alternate movies that I'll occasionally watch.
Sure.
Same with the Terminator movies, T1, T2, incredible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoy the other ones, but they're not the main story to me. It's easy to just stop. Just stop watching at a certain point if you don't like the other ones.
Friday the 13th ends after 6. That's all you gotta tell yourself. Just think normal thoughts. Sure, there's 12 of them, but only 2 that are worthwhile.
So what's your checklist then?
What must see or want to see and need to see?
Either or whatever.
I mean, So we're getting the Emperor. I think I need to. I want them to wrap up Kylo's story, because I really think his arc so far in 7 and 8 have been really incredible. If they can just wrap him up with the lead in, I'd like to see him go full dark, but I don't think that's going to happen. But if they're not going to have him go full dark, explain it. And perhaps for as much as you were talking about it, that people are expecting him to face turn at the end there. If they can somehow parallel him to Anakin's story, because he kind of is. Ben in the sequel trilogy is kind of similar to Anakin in 2 and 3 of the prequels. If they can kind of do the same story while subverting that, Anakin doesn't go to the dark side, Anakin does go to the dark side and Ben doesn't. If they can land that, I'm okay with that. I'm intrigued, but I would love to see him just go full dark side. Maybe he's the one that kills Leia, and that would be. I don't know how you end the movie without him dead, but.
No, I think that would be. I think that would be too much. People in Force Awakens were saying once he killed Han, that's it, irredeemable. But this is Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
This is it's fantasy fairy tale storytelling. At the end of the day, I mean, while it's cool to see in these recent movies, like the acting is really top notch. Mm-hmm. Really great, emotional human acting, but it is ultimately a fairy tale fantasy story. Sure. And it's kind of a morality play, and you bend and twist the believability of morals in terms of Darth Vader
killed kids, youngling. Excuse me.
He did, yeah, killed kids, but I don't know. I still find his redemption kind of satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't think about it too much, and ultimately. It's a movie, not to sidetrack too much, but me and Connie did a review for Joker, mm-hmm. and we're talking about the morality of that, and she's like, yeah, but he's a movie character, it's not quite real life,
Yeah.
We can relate to it like it's real life, but it's a movie character. Why do people love the scene in Rogue One when Vader's cutting down good guys? Because he's cool and he's a movie
mm-hmm.
character,
It's like a slasher movie. That's a badass scene right there.
Yeah, so with Kylo, I mean, I don't know how much more we'll see him go dark. I think he kind of doubles down in The Last Jedi, but there's still that conflict within him, which makes him so interesting. I think with Anakin, we saw that complete switch. Like, he was completely broken in Revenge of the Sith. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's horrific when he's burning on that side of that. All memes aside, that visual of him just burning alive is horrific. And he gets completely broken, and then Padme dying at his kind of hand almost completely destroys him, and he is that full dark for another like 20 years or whatever,
right?
Whereas Kylo hasn't been fully ripped apart yet. He's close, and it's written all over his face. And I think Kylo's kind of the version of Anakin where he didn't get completely ripped apart, and when we're just seeing all that emotion inside him, the conflict, mm-hmm. and that's what made Force Awakens so interesting, when he's like, I feel it again, the pull to the light. I was like, fuck, that's an interesting.
Well, yeah, and Last Jedi, when Rey kind of was teasing around with the dark side, and Luke's just like, you didn't even reject it, or whatever the line was. It's just like, if they can somehow, I don't know how the hell they're going to have Rey go dark. If they could somehow switch them both up, I'd be impressed just for trying it. But it would be really impressive to see if they could somehow end the movie where Ben's the good guy and Rey's the bad guy. Like, that would be incredible.
It would be interesting, but I really.
I don't like. Obviously, that's a tall order, but I'd be really be impressed.
I think that's an interesting part of her character that I saw in The Force Awakens, even when she finally beat Kylo in the lightsaber duel, where she slices his face. And she's kind of standing over him with that angry look on her face. And it's kind of anger leads to, all that kind of stuff on the dark side and stuff. And that to me was almost like a mini echo of Luke cutting down Vader. It's the good guy succumbing to this bloodlust almost. And so I was like, I wonder if they'll explore that more in The Last Jedi. They did when she went straight to the dark, so to speak. And I think that dark side Rey is going to be like a potential future for her that she maybe sees in the movie, in the same way that we've seen visions in the other movies, perhaps.
Right.
But I don't see it being a big part of the story where, she actually does turn.
Gem Z Kenobi in the YouTube chat says, but I always wondered, did he really turn, or was it the Emperor's mind control? I guess in reference to Anakin.
Well, they talk a lot about. I don't know. I feel like because I read.
So three's fresh in my head. He wanted to save his wife, and I think Emperor Palpatine knew. Like he read his mind, and he knew that Anakin was suffering with the idea of his child, or excuse me, his wife dying through childbirth. So he just exploited that. I don't know if it was mind control so much as him just knowing his secret.
Yes, someone was tweeting about Anakin's vision of Padme dying. Was that a real vision that he had, or was it Palpatine?
Oh wow!
That vision?
Well, that's the shot we see at the end of the movie. Her crying like that.
Yeah. So to me, I think it's Anakin's real vision, but the irony of it, the horrible irony, is that it was his fault.
Yeah.
It's a possible future that he could have prevented if he hadn't been his mind poisoned by Palpatine. I think Palpatine exploits him, and then the dark side takes care of the rest. Because Anakin has such power that once he gets to that dark place, then the dark side kind of just, latches onto him, and that kind of rules the rest of his fate, I suppose.
Yeah. Same commenter, because even when he killed Mace Windu, he was like, "What have I done?" Well, yeah. There's a line that is used twice. In the beginning of the movie, when he has the two lightsabers up against, he's too dangerous to be kept alive, and then Anakin slices his head off. Same line used when Mace Windu is holding the lightsaber to Palpatine. He says he's too dangerous to be left alive, and this time Anakin's like, wait a minute, no, we're leaving him alive this time. So, the third one's pretty strong for as much as people shit on the prequels. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, it's gotten much better with time for me. I really liked it when it first came out, but it's just got better every time I see it. And that part, when he becomes Darth Vader and Emperor gives him the name, he's still not fully there yet. I think when he goes to Mustafar, right? And I say that like I don't even know what the movie's about, but well, Mustafar, right? Was it Episode 3, Revenge of the Jedi? When he sees that Obi-Wan has come with her, when she said that he hadn't or something, like it's all these things are compounding, and he's getting angrier and angrier. And I think that moment when Emperor again twists the truth and says, in your anger you killed him.
It seems in your anger,
you
killed her.
So
what sorry.
Love it or hate it. That's when he's fully broken off from everything. I think that's when he turns completely. That's the final nail in the coffin of Darth Vader.
I just like the idea of Darth Vader stammering. What? You no.
That has aged well to me as well. I mean, first seeing it was ridiculous. I thought, oh my god, what have they done? But to me, that isn't the Darth Vader we knew in the original trilogy. This is the Anakin that we know, who's now become this machine. He's not fully Darth Vader yet, and so I like how there was a difference there. It wasn't like cool Darth Vader. Like, I don't know. I like how it.
Yeah, he's still Anakin, the bitchy, whiny brat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm okay. How are you? Now I'm kind of open-minded, and I'm kind of like I try so hard, but sometimes the bait's really really big and tempting, and I'll dive in, and I can't help it. But I'll look at some of these clickbait things, and it's just like, is this really what you're angry about? Before there's nothing yet, and I'm just glad that I'm not anywhere on any side where it's just I hope I'm not too fanboy, and I'm certainly not too fuck this movie. There's no way there's no way they're saving it. I'm just going for the ride, and there's a couple things that I'd like to see it tie up. There's a couple things that are, fantasy land, but, if you just tell me a good story, I mean, you love Last Jedi. I love what it is. It's a really good movie. The theme of failure is throughout that movie. I don't know if they can. JJ is really. I'm trying to think of a good JJ Abrams movie where he stuck the landing. And I'm having a hard time. God bless him. He introduced Lost to us. I think my favorite JJ Abrams movie, other than Force Awakens, might be Mission Impossible 3. And again, really strong villain. Philip Seymour Hoffman's incredible in that. But, I can't tell you what the ending of that movie is. I genuinely can't tell you what the ending of that movie is. He gets married to what's-her-face, right? Or something like that? Or they're back home together? I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think I saw it when it came out, and I thought that was good, and then I forgot everything about it. And then I watched it again, I was like, man, this is really good. Like, I forgot how good this was. And that was like a year ago for the last one, and I've forgotten.
Right, exactly.
It's like one of those weird ones.
It's that when he counts to 10 thing, you're like, oh, this is fucking tits, this is awesome. And then you're like, what happened? I forgot what happened.
Yeah.
It's like somebody Men in Blacks you at the end. Just Last Jedi was awesome. Just fuel. The chase, the fuel chase theme ruined it. They could have thought of another means of tension. I don't know if tension was anticipated.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't. Did we need to have tension in that movie? Because I don't think we had it.
Well, there is there is and there isn't, I suppose. I liked it. I like the kind of it's almost comedic, the kind of very slow chase across space, but it served a purpose. I like how it's like the First Order is literally looming this massive ship. It's like larger than life thing, and you got these small little rebels they're getting shot at and stuff, and it's almost an inescapable kind of fate, and they just start getting slowly picked off as the movie progresses. It's kind of unrelenting.
Abrams doesn't end stuff well. It's like he's unsure of himself. Yeah. He's really good at getting you salivating. It's this.
I did read an interview with him where he said that Last Jedi made him feel more confident in just throwing it out there a bit more with Episode 9.
Oh yeah, didn't he say fuck it? Wasn't there a quote where he just says fuck it? I'm gonna do 9 the way I want to do it.
Possibly.
I think that's a direct quote where he said fuck it, like literally those 2 words.
No, I know there was a recent Q&A with Rian Johnson, and someone said, "What do you think about the people who had a problem with the diversity in The Last Jedi?" And he just said, "Fuck it." Like, if you've got a problem with diversity, fuck you.
Yeah, it's Star Wars, for fuck's sake.
No.
There's dog people.
Yeah.
There's
know,
just
right?
all types of people, and like there's a fish tank with eyes. Can you really? What are you talking about here? Felix in the super chat, $2. Thank you. More Rey equals great film. Ooh.
I like it.
I agree. Maybe a nude scene? No, stop. Don't be silly. This is a classy joint.
I find it to be quite a compelling character in a lot of ways. In the same way Anakin and Luke were, just a character who's unexpectedly thrust into a life where they have a great power in something and they're not quite sure where to funnel it.
Right. Yeah, it perhaps with her, she hasn't really faced much adversity yet. Granted, she was brought up, she was raised in an adverse situation, just kind of slumming it down on Jakku. It would be interesting for me if she fails in this movie and somehow, somebody else, maybe Ben, whatever, needs to pick up the pieces for her, or, something, maybe that's where you can get Finn involved. But, I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking. What would the loud voices that have probably influenced something in this film? What would they say if she failed? And I don't know. There might be riots in the street. Thank you. They finally listened, everyone.
Oh God.
Hashtag my Rey. This is my Rey. Slums of Jakku is the porno version. Thank you, John. I agree. That's probably out. Yeah. So, and any final thoughts, Luke? As you're now what? You're now a week.
Yep.
A week away.
A week and a week and a half a day, I guess. But we're seeing the trilogy, which is going to be really cool.
All in a row. That's neat.
And I'm actually really looking forward to seeing The Force Awakens again, because I do kind of often forget about it a little bit with my Last Jedi fandom. So I'm looking forward to seeing Force Awakens again, Last Jedi again on the big screen. Why not? It'll be a good lead-in to the kind of the final part, I think. So quite excited for that. And I'm really amped up tonight because the For Your Consideration score has kind of leaked online. Disney uploaded the kind of sending out to all the award shows kind of version of the Rise of Skywalker score. So I've been listening to some of it and getting quite excited because there's some really good stuff in there.
Yeah. With in the YouTube chat, with Kathleen Kennedy at the helm, there's no worries about there being no future, and the Force is female shit. John. Thank you, John. I think so. To what you were talking about rewatching everything. When I watched Last Jedi, they had this a similar thing where you could watch Force Awakens, and I remember thinking, I knew the beats of the movie, and I remember by the time we got to the third act, I was like, man, this movie really, really moves quick. Which, pacing's that's a big thing for me. just get it going. I just want to keep moving, and that's what
pacing and fonts.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, I don't like the font on this, so I'm not watching it. I'm out of it. But yeah, The Force Awakens really moves quite quickly, smoothly. Last Jedi's a nice. It's a theatrical experience. It is. I wonder if did they have that in 70mm screens? Because that looked like it was quite scope in presentation.
I'm not sure.
And just to wrap it all up with what we've seen in the shots of the teaser and the trailer and all that stuff, just the epic nature of what. I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to top Avengers Endgame for like the just overall scale of what the hell is going to happen at the end of this movie, but they're going to try. It looks like they're going to try to have some big badass craziness.
The one shot I loved from the last trailer was kind of one people don't talk about. It's just the Falcon flying down, and behind it is just thousands of ships.
Oh yeah.
Just thousands, because that to me is like kind of the ultimate payoff of The Last Jedi. You end the movie with them at this little base in the side of a mountain saying, hey, please help us. And the galaxy's like, nope. No, we're good. It's like 20 people left out of this resistance, and then why would I want to do that? What does that do for Marvel?
You're all set over there. You guys take care of it.
So I mean, it's completely hopeless at the end there, and then Luke turns up, pulls off this unbelievable thing where he gets shot down and is still standing there. And obviously word got out. You see the kids at the end of the movie playing with their action figures, reenacting the scene on Crate. Luke brought that hope back again. For one last time, he became the new hope. And in that shot, you see thousands of ships. Everyone shows up for this fight at the end. So that's really exciting to me. It's like what he did made a difference and a big impact for what will be the big space battle at the end of Episode 9, I think.
Luke, why don't you tell people about your channel and what if they'd like other stuff, because you've made quite a history of leading up to these movies. Why don't you tell everybody about if they're unfamiliar with your work?
Yeah, I mean, I've done these it's called the Road to Episode 7, 8, and 9. So I've been doing those videos for 7, 8 years now, I think.
Wow.
But it's really just like popping in every now and then and saying, okay, new posters out or new trailers out, let's talk about it. And what do I think? It's same with what we've been talking about here, pretty much just on my own. So I've done a lot of that, but I do all sorts of reviews, really. I mean, I don't think many people in the chat and watching this are unfamiliar with my content, but
I agree. But
a bit of a slow period recently because I'm working on 2 24-hour movie marathons at once, so that's taken up all my time. But yeah, I do a series on the 1,001 movies you must see before you die, just general Blu-ray stuff as well. So yeah, lots of movie talk and so on.
We got to get you and Jace in another one of those streams together, because I keep meaning to work those streams around you, and because that'd be really exciting, because Jace just owned it last week. Like, he just told
that was good.
Yeah, so we got to get you whether it be like sci-fi or something, just we'll figure something out. But yeah,
that'd be good one, actually. So
yeah. So Luke, thanks for joining me. By the next time we talk will probably be the ass end of this, and we'll be complaining or singing praise, or maybe half and half. So to everybody on the YouTube page, thank you so much for dealing with this. If you'd like to listen to a polished version where all the hiccups are gone, it'll be on the Show Business podcast channel, and it'll be titled, Hype for Rise of Skywalker. Just check the Show Business podcast network over on Apple, Google, Podbean, all those places. And once again, thanks, Luke. Thanks, everybody, for watching and hanging in there. And we'll see you next time. Toodle.